Hey, this is Dr. Kelly Cagle, and for season 3, we're doing things a little differently because we know that a healthy and happy dad and mom starts with a healthy and happy husband and wife. So I decided to bring along my husband, Josh, as co host so we could share some real life stuff of the ways that we learn how to fight to make our marriage thrive. You are listening to season 3 of the Parenting IQ podcast, Learning to Fight. All right, here's another episode of the Parenting IQ podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kelly Cagle, with my husband, Josh Cagle. And I want to remind you, if you want to watch these episodes, you can go to our YouTube page at drkellycagle.com. Aside from that, this week on my social media, on my Instagram at Dr. Kelly Cagle, I posted a picture. Actually, I shared a reel from Dave Ramsey. And it said couples who can agree on 4 major issues have a much higher probability of a successful marriage. And the 4 areas were religion, in-laws, parenting, and money. And then I asked you to vote on what you thought that Josh and I, our number one reason that we fought was, and your votes were in, and I was shocked. It was pretty interesting actually to see this. And I even told you this. 16% of you thought it was religion that we fought about. 47% thought it was in-laws. I know. I thought that was interesting. Then 16% thought it was parenting. And then 21% of you thought it was money. So, babe, what is it that we fight about the most? Who wins? What percentage of people here win?
I'm going to say probably the money side.
Yeah. So it's money. So
money.
21% of you were right on that. Yeah, it's money. Now, what's super interesting is that we have been married for 17 years. We were also really young when we got married. So I like to say that we made some good financial decisions together, but then we also made some really dumb ones just because we were young and figuring life out. And so here we are now in our 30s. And not that we've got to figure it out yet, because now we're raising kids and doing all the things with them, but we're still figuring this part out in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's true. Now, I will say I'm probably going to have to up my game and wanting to fight with the in-laws a little
please
more.
Don't.
Because I'm going to have to kind of put that into the mindset.
No, I don't think you have to.
Your family better get ready because I'm going to bring it.
Okay, no, please don't do that, my poor family. But I will say this. Ramsey Solutions, which is the Dave Ramsey team, they said that money is actually the number one issue married couples argue about.
Really?
Yeah. So we fit that description too, that in general, and I think it's important to look at, a lot of couples bring in their baggage as far as debt when they get married. Others are like us, figuring things out as you're getting going. So it kind of doesn't matter what prescription you fit under. I think it's really important on what we are unpacking today to have conversations. This is the final week of our communication piece season that we did of the 4 weeks of talking things out on some issues. And this is what we want to talk about today, is the importance to actually talk about money.
Very important. It's very important. I mean, money is something that I think we all look at differently. And whenever we are thinking about how does that fit in as a marriage, and what does our future look like, we need to make sure that we have a lot of goals. And most of the time, whenever we look at life, we like what you were saying with Dave Ramsey. A lot of that is to do with when you're going through some hardships. When things are easy, when things are clicking along really well, I mean, obviously you can drift and grow apart, but a lot of times I think we all find ourselves in seasons of debt and in seasons of the strife, the struggle to either make it month to month or your goals for the year or whatever it might end up being. And so I think finances are a huge portion of our marriage. It impacts so many things in so many ways.
And I think that even with what we say week after week, that we are two different people, but that are on the same team. And not only are you figuring life out as a couple, but then you also come with how you were raised, how you saw your parents spend, and all these things, if you had a lot when you were growing up, if you have certain habits of eating out often. I think all of those little puzzle pieces make up who you are, the individual that you are today. So, how do you bring your puzzle piece, that's a pretty large piece, and then make it fit with another individual who had those same experiences and past, right? Life experience financially, with
Hmm.
money, the relationship with money, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I think a lot of it's just I feel like we need to make sure that we're talking about it. So we want to first in our month of communication, just call out as a married couple, if you are not, or maybe you are, one way or the other. Let's make sure that we are talking about our finances.
Mhm.
And what does that look like? What
Mhm.
is it that you're supposed to talk about? Maybe you're tired of talking about it because every time you do, it ends up in some fight.
Yeah.
We want to take a moment and try to break those things down. We're not here to fight about money. We're here to fight through our problems.
Mhm.
And I think what we've got to understand is that there's moments in life when you are going into some good debts, whether
Yeah.
that's in buying a house, or maybe you needed to get something for the family like a new car or
Mhm.
something. Those are maybe some needs that you have to have. The
Mhm.
difference can be whenever you get into that season of needing to buy a house is, well, okay, what kind of house meets your needs? A
Mhm.
lot of times you'll find yourself, I like watching those shows on TV that they'll show these couples looking to buy
Love it or list
homes.
it.
Well, any one of them, they're all very similar, where they're looking to buy homes, and they walking through the homes and they're like, yes, this would be so great when people come over, or that we could host so many
Yeah.
people in this scenario. And then these homes end up being so expensive.
Mhm.
And I really think that we have to be careful that whenever we're making decisions for our family, it's for our family.
Mhm.
And then the people that are surrounding our life and cheering us on and care about us and love us are going to come no matter you've got a
Yeah.
shack or a
Yeah.
mansion, right? And I think what we've got to make sure that we're doing in our marriage is communicating, hey, we have this need, for example, this house, but we need to make sure that we're balancing our needs versus our wants.
Well, and the reason why I said that show, Love It or List It, is because every time we watch it, the couples find some other house that they really love, right? With the guy, whatever his
Hmm.
name is. But then there's the lady who she's so
Yeah,
good.
she's really good.
And what ends up happening, almost, I don't know that I've ever watched an episode where they ended up buying the other house. They end up staying.
Yeah.
And I see good behavior in that, like good patterns in that, because there were certain things with their current home that they were like, man, the pantry's so small, or the bathroom, storage, whatever. And then she fixes that issue. And
Hmm.
then they're like, okay, this is great. And it ends up being a smarter financial decision on the couple.
Right, right. Well, you can flip that though to the bad debt that we're talking about, and I think you were going to share about some credit card or some sort of debt that Dave Ramsey was talking about. It was like, what was it, 30 something percent? I think it was, of couples have bad debt.
Well, it was actually that this wasn't necessarily on Dave Ramsey. It was on a different website, and I'm trying to get to it right now. But it was saying, here, let me get it. It's the 2023, February 2023 consumer survey by Bread Financial. Oh no, that wasn't the one. Oh, hold on. Which one was it that you're talking about? I read so many different stats, but one of them did say that the couples that really fight a lot is because they have at least $30,000 of
Oh,
consumeristic
I
debt.
got you. I got you.
They argue a lot because they have at least $30,000 in debt of what you're saying, this
Yeah.
bad debt of
And
habits.
and what is bad debt? Debt, when we talk about bad debt, it doesn't mean that you bought something that was bad. It means that maybe you didn't have to have it at that
Mhm.
time, right? A want versus a need. Are you buying additional shoes or whatever that those things might end up being, that you've got thousands of pair of shoes, but
Mhm.
you want this one.
We go to our choosing our battles wisely, which is the topic that we talk about every week. And right here we can align it as, is this a want or is it a need?
Right. Yeah.
And whenever you talk about money, which is what we're talking about here, that is where the disconnect can happen quite a bit, because I'm not saying that the women are the ones that are always shopping. That's not always the case. But generally speaking, the women end up wanting makeup, needing, hair products. And because I know that that's where most of my spending goes, not because of vanity, but because I'm 36 and I'm starting to see some wrinkles and I need to do some preventative care. Otherwise, I'm going to need to do other stuff later on, but it's like, that is not necessarily a want for me right now. It's more of a need, where I think that we can get carried away on, like you said, I have a black pair of sandals, but I also like these other black pair of sandals. And it's, well, do you need that one just because they fit you really well?
Well, and inside of our day and age now, if you want it, you can get it,
Yeah.
right? It's so easy to say yes. It's very hard to say no. Whether it's in Amazon, you can buy anything over
Instantly.
online and you get it the next day. And so how do we press through, right? What are you, maybe as a married couple, what do you guys look like in your environment of finances? What do y'all fight about whenever you're going through these financial topics? And we want to encourage that every marriage is going to go through the ups and downs of debt. And our goal here is, how are we going to press through? How are we going to get to the other side? Right? What do you see in your marriage? And sometimes it could be that, hey, we start in the first of the year and we want to have this, and this paid off, or we want to be able to go on this vacation, so we need to save money, or we need to buy this new car, so we're going to have to save money. And then you come to find out what happens. You get a curveball thrown at you, and something ended up, the air conditioner goes out, or your dog died, or whatever it might end up being that you didn't see coming. And then that original goal gets maybe extended, and through time you now find yourself in this rut of, man, we're just surviving versus thriving.
Well, the statistic I was going to say earlier was that February 2023 survey by Bread Financial found that 64% of couples admit to financial incompatibility with their partners. 64% of couples don't, are battling through this, and that's a large number. And so, again, we don't have it figured out, but we have, for example, I'm going to talk about wants versus needs. I was not raised going out to eat all the time, right? So choosing our battles wisely for us whenever we sit down, and with the goals that you're talking about. Whenever we're like, hey, Kelly, let's work towards paying, I don't know, we had something come up, but we need to take care of this. Then I'm like, all right, I'm good with sandwiches, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you are not that kind of person. You did not grow up this way. You grew up going out to eat, and you like flavor. We talk about cooking here quite a bit, because obviously that's also another area that we talk about a lot. But you got to eat, right? And you like to eat. And the boys, you're raising boys that also really like to eat.
You like to eat.
And so with that, what kind of fighter are you in regards to reaching these financial goals? You have some that are the non-spender, that are like, hey, I'm going to budget every single dollar. I know exactly where every dollar is going, right? And you're like, nope, we're reaching this goal. I don't care what happens. And then you have the others that, hey, but I also got to live a little while we're doing this. And it's either black or it's white. And I think that that's where the gap happens a lot. And that number that statistic that I just read, the 64% of couples, to me, how I read that is, that's where that disconnect starts happening.
Yeah. When it says incompatible, which means that you're not connecting.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think whenever I know myself, sometimes whenever I look at doing our finances, I try to at least do an overview of our finances weekly, and kind of do some recapping of where are we. Obviously, I would encourage any marriage to have a budget being that what you're bringing in, you understand your bills, maybe your fixed expenses, and then you have an idea of what you think, maybe gas and some of the variables, your gas, your food, whatever it might be that it costs you, to have an idea on what that is. Now, I'm normally try to look at things worst case, so I might hope that we're going to spend a certain amount of money more. I might set the bar a little higher, hoping I come in underneath that, right? But what I find myself sometimes doing is I can be that nagger, be honest with you, when it comes into, I see, well, there's Target, and then there's this whatever shop is right next to Target that looks like this for Ulta, I think it is, or whatever it might end up being. And
now
it's
Ulta's
like,
inside a Target, guys.
I'm gonna need a receipt with a breakdown. And so when we first got married, I was really trying to track all this stuff very, very micro, right?
Yeah.
Just to the dollar, wanted to understand it and things like that. But then what I found is we ended up fighting about just things that I didn't quite understand. And also what we fought about is we didn't spend the time to set aside fun things for you versus fun things for me. Because I am that grinder, right? And so I'm just kind of like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, because we gotta get these bills paid off or whatever. We're just gonna grind.
And I'm the one that has to live a little.
Yeah.
I'm willing to grind. So I'm willing to give up in the food area, the food department, that I'll grind in the food department, but then I also want to live a little.
Yeah. You like going on trips or whatever, where I don't want to give up on my food, but I don't have to go on the trips.
Exactly.
And so we find ourselves in these moments of, well, hey, how are we going to meet these goals? And so obviously it doesn't start without communication.
Yeah.
And we've got to understand, what are we trending? How are we trending with our finances? And so as a married couple, we would very much encourage you to sit down and be willing to listen to each other's perspectives. But also, whenever we're talking, whenever we're fleshing this out, we've got to understand those wants versus needs.
Yeah.
It's just like I tell my son when he's looking at this Rolls Royce or these Lamborghinis.
Which
he's so
these
in the
boys
cars.
love
they all
cars.
Are. But I try to tell him, boys, these cars, they get us from point A to point B.
You always say it's just a piece of metal.
It's just a piece of metal. And obviously I love cars as well. I'm not trying to downplay those things, but whenever you're not in that financial realm, don't try to get there, because there's a saying that I've heard once before. And it basically said, anything that you have to pay off owns you.
That's good.
And so until you have something paid off, whether it's the good debt, whether it's the bad debt, whether it's whatever might be going on, it owns you until you own it. Right. And so we sit here, and many, many times we can get ourselves into these incompatible moments because we're not communicating, how are we going to tackle this debt? Right? Because we look in comparison of how all these other people are doing so well. They got it so easy. They're doing all the vacations. They got the nice things, nice cars, whatever it is. But just let it go. We got to learn to let it go. Right?
My dad, you've heard me say this before. My dad always said to us, to all the kids, not just me necessarily, but he would say, guys, you don't ever really know how much money people have. Not that it really matters, but you just don't know how much money people have by what they have.
By what they show.
By what they show. Until you look at their bank account, you really have no idea. And then I got a job at a bank when I was 18. I was a teller, and I saw firsthand people driving up, and these women with the big old diamond rings flashing at me with a check, whatever, and these big Escalades, their Louis Vuitton purses, all the things, right? Sunglasses, whatever. And then I would look at the bank account, and granted, I know that not every dollar's in the bank, whatever, but it did not show that, know? And I was like, wow, my dad was right.
Well, I mean, I think at the end, our end goal for our lives is to understand, just like we had our air conditioner go out this year, it was great. And it hit you in the back of the head. And
also in the dead of heat, guys, in Texas, it was like 100 and whatever.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like air conditioners, like everything else, has gone up. And so how do you fight through those things? It's not like all the time that you're sitting here, oh, we've got an air conditioner go down budget, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do you recover? And we understand, we want our family to not feel like every day is so mundane. You're in the rut of things, but we also want to make sure that we kind of do some recalibrating, resync. How are we going to get this behind us? This is now a goal that we have to tackle before we think that we're going to just continue to go and on this big vacation or whatever it might be. Right.
Which I'll even say that last year, or was it COVID? No, it was the following year. Yeah, last year. We didn't even go on a vacation, and we typically do. We love vacations. In fact,
Mhm.
we even asked the boys for several years. We even, instead of giving them big Christmas gifts, whatever, we would take them on a vacation. But we were in a season of grinding for us together as a family. And we told them, hey guys, this is what we have going on right now. And we're going to make the best of it. You took a week off and we had a staycation
Right.
locally, and we gave them each a yes day where they chose what we ate, what we did, and all the things. But, we created memories, but in a different way because we were in a grinding season and we were like, man, could we do this? Yeah. But do we need to? No, we aligned, our hearts aligned in a way that we respected each other's needs and wants in this big picture of, you understood that, hey, I know, Kelly, that you like quality time. And how can we still, in this grinding season, be respectful of our big financial goal that we have, of whatever it was, and still create memories?
Mhm.
And the boys loved it, and they were on board. Now they're ready for a trip, right? Because it's been a year, but it was good. It was just a good season for the boys to also see that, wow, mom and dad also make sacrifices. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and with our finances, so many times we think that we have to um, get this, or this. And I'll speak for myself. My mind can get caught up on how to provide, how to
Mhm.
help, get things paid off or taken care of. And so a lot of times my mind can be in there. And I think what the Lord's doing in my life is helping me understand that, hey, let's live in your lane. We don't we can let's take care of our needs that we have as a family with our house and the different things we've got going on. But let's strategize, because I don't want to live life where all this debt, like what you're telling me about the $30,000,
Mhm.
that is so hard to get out of. And I would encourage people to maybe look up the Dave Ramsey things. I believe in what he's doing
Mhm.
and helping families and helping individuals try to get out of debt. There are
Mhm.
strategies to to that, but I think as a married couple, that it's just not, well, I just need this,
Yeah.
or we just had to.
Mhm.
Okay, without first communicating together if it's a real need.
Mhm. And I even think about, because we're trying to let you guys know also how some of the ways that we have overcome some of these battles, which, if it's the number one thing we fight about, how have we learned to, in a healthy way, fight? Because that's what the season is about.
Mhm.
In healthy ways, we are fighting through these things. So for example, we are about to, well, actually, like fall's around the corner, and the boys switching of seasons, right? Clothes. As the mom, and I don't know how it is in your house, maybe it's the same, but I do know that most of my girlfriends, they take care of the everybody else. Like holy socks, the mom's the one shopping for. Holy undies, the mom. Outgrown clothes, different seasons, different shoes, holes, whatever, backpacks, school supplies, all the things. It's the mom taking care of stuff. And when you're talking about Target and this receipt, many times it's literally like, oh my gosh, the boys, I saw all these socks that when I was folding clothes, they all had holes in them, so I just picked up a pack of socks while I was at Target, whatever. But it can also be in this, oh, this is so cute, I don't necessarily need this right now. From this example I just gave, it's, oh, this is cute, I want this.
Mhm.
And so it's that balance of the mom in particular. For me, I'm speaking for myself, how I see my observations of myself is that if I'm going to walk through the aisles of women clothes, without a need, without like something that I'm actually needing to get, I'm going to find something.
Sure.
It's not hard to find something cute,
Yeah.
whether it's jewelry or shoes or shirts or pants. It's not difficult to find something cute, even at just Target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going with a goal. And what's also helped me in that arena is that minimalistic movement that kind of was a hype several years ago. And I was like, man, because their mentality is, is this going to give you fulfillment in your life? Like, is it, because I felt like I learned the difference between needs versus wants just in that.
Really?
Yes. Because in my head, I was thinking, I'm going to fill my closet with another item. Do I need this item? Is this really versatile? Like, can I make a lot of outfits out of this one item? Because then, yes, it's worth the $30.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can't answer these things, then it's not worth it to me. It's not a good even investment, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, I think in America, we all are so much more blessed than we would ever even imagine outside. I mean, these borders. I'm
Mhm.
so thankful for this country and everything that it does.
Me
I
too.
say that because you think about Haiti, or if you really want to get, a good perspective of what life's about, go on a mission trip.
Yeah.
If you really think that we've got it bad, go on a mission trip and see the rest of the world from a different lens, because the design in America, though, is to keep us in debt.
Yeah.
It is designed to keep us wanting. Think about every month. There's almost a vacation of some sort. There's a New Year's, and there's Valentine's, and there's
Or
St.
a holiday.
Patty's. There's a holiday for every time of the year. And what they're doing is they're just encouraging spending. They want you
Consumerism.
to die at 70. I mean, so that Social Security, I mean, there's all kinds of different things that are set up, that if we're not on the same page, if we're not going to say, hey, you know what, time out, I'm going to think about what are our goals, what do we want, right, to look like, and then start working from there. My heart would be for every marriage to thrive and not survive. We said that a minute ago, and because we want our marriages to be able to spend time with our kiddos,
Mhm.
to be able to spend quality time with each other. But if we keep piling on these wants, if we're
Yeah.
not defining wants versus needs, and then and everything's just a need,
And you got payments to make.
then yeah, I mean, resources are limited,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of billionaires that are hanging out there that I know.
I think the big thing that you and I learned in our 17 years of marriage is that we need to get together during a healthy time. Not when last week we talked about that it's important to talk about sex at a healthy time, not at
Right.
10:30 at night when we're going to bed. Same thing about money. Don't choose a time whenever you are looking at all the things that you're needing to pay. Choose a different time. It's a healthy time. And then sit down. Maybe it's even you have a designated date night just to dream and to make long-term goals, financial goals.
That's good.
And so out of everything that we said, if you just say, hey, you know what? We have been fighting a lot about money, because I've also gone out with several girlfriends and they all fight about money. We were all talking about this. Yeah, we fight about this. Yeah, we fight about money. I hate talking about money. I just avoid it altogether. So it's a common thing. And just like we heard some statistics earlier, it's a common thing. So if couples could just come together and during a healthy time, think, hey, what are some of our financial goals? Let's dream a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And think of, this is what we have. I really think that we could work together and pay this X, Y, or Z to pay this off in a certain number of time. Whatever it is, whatever you have going on, even if it is, hey, I want to buy a vacation house, or hey, I want to do whatever, buy a boat, but whatever. Get together and collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
So your piece is compatible. Your puzzle piece is compatible. So you're working towards the same goal.
Right.
In unison.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, whenever we have that same goal, and yeah, there's going to be things that really try to war against that. And a lot of it's time, because we don't think that it takes maybe longer than what we want to get out of these moments of whatever extra bill that you have to pay. But when you do come together, you will unite your family in one accord, and your chances of that surviving through these times are going to be healthier. They're going to be very, very in unity. And I think then you'll also be able to start to trust one another, that, hey, we're in this together. Okay. And in that trust that gets developed when we are communicating how we see life and how we feel like our finances should look, I think sometimes then you're able to be willing to, hey, why don't we set ourselves aside $50 a month and you just spend this just for your own
Mm-hmm.
needs, right?
At Ulta.
Because we have because we have been conquering things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you continue to build that trust. And once
Mm-hmm.
that trust is built and you're devoted on that, you're not going to violate each other's trust.
Yeah, it's good.
Then I think you're going to be able to find yourself looking back, not even, you couldn't even imagine
Mm-hmm.
how far that you made it, the stride that had taken place
Mm-hmm.
because of that trust that's
Because
developed.
you got on the same page.
Yeah, you got on the same page. I just think so many times that a good question that you have to ask yourselves is, do we trust each other?
Yeah.
Do we trust each other to make good financial decisions?
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to trust each other
Mm-hmm.
to make these decisions? And we
That's good.
flesh that out. We work that out. We talk about it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Versus just kind of going with the flow. Because if we're going with the flow, the rest of the world's just going to try to, hey, market your mind,
Distract you,
get
you off page,
right,
off balance.
right.
And that's
So
really
I
good.
think that would build that respect that we
Mhm.
talk about.
Mm-hmm.
How do we respect one another? We respect one another by developing that trust. Hey,
Mhm.
listen, I understand our bills. I understand our finances. So I'm going to live within this for now. And when we do, when we succeed, let's bless each other.
Mhm.
Let's
Celebrate.
let's celebrate.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this episode, which I hope you did, if you got something out of it, then share it with a friend. Don't forget that you can submit your requests online, whether on my website or my social media page or my YouTube page, all of them at drkellycagle.com. We would love to hear from you guys. And remember that you are two different people, but you are on the same team. And about money, get on the same team. Get a clear picture, develop that plan of action so you can dream big, where you're choosing your battles wisely, you're thinking about what kind of fighter you are, and you are respecting one another. We'll see you next week.